Okay, I'll call the regular city council meeting Monday, September 16, 2019 to order. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Alderman Ferrari. Here. Waldorf. Here. Precocious. Here. Radke. Here. Sapienza. Payton. Ballard. Here. Buffalo. Here. Mayor Harrell.
Here. Everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, was there any public comment sheets filled out?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move right in the presentation of City of Peru Good Neighbor Recognition to Eagle Scouts. Christian, as I say your name, Christian, could you come right up here to Christian Risk, Colton Sittler, Carson Vasky, and Joseph Velosnik. Okay. Quiet heroes are sprinkled throughout the city of Peru, Illinois. They perform deeds silently and or with assuring voice, without fanfare, without the expectations of reward or honor. They serve with grace and humility. This pillar of the community might be a teacher, business owner, mother, father, soldier, adolescent, teenager, athlete, community leader, volunteer, or neighbor. The list is endless. It is with great pleasure that I, Scott J. Hall, Mayor of the City of Peru, City Clerk, Treasurer, Aldermen, employees, and all the citizens of Peru, do hereby present a City of Peru Good Neighbor recognition for your service in remodeling, for this one's Carson Vasky, in remodeling the concession stand at Washington Park as part of your quest to attain the Eagle Scout rating, Joe Velosnik for painting the local food pantry, Christian Risk for creating the story walk at Splash Field, Colton Sittler for completing landscaping around the flagpole at Splash Field. Congratulations, and thank you very much. There we go. Okay. Okay, show your flag. Grab this. There we go. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for what you do. Okay, I'll now turn it over to North Central Illinois Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Steve, do you want to make the introduction of the new director? Steve Aubrey.
Steve Aubrey with CIT Trust, and this is Mike Kershoff, the new CEO, President of NCI EDC. He's been on board since September 1st. So if you don't mind, if you have any questions, I'll stay close if you can't answer.
Thank you, Steve. You know, after we said the Pledge of Allegiance, the thing that immediately popped to mind for me was two. In Scouts, when I was a Scout leader or a Boy Scout member, at the end it was always, after you put your hand down, it's two. So it's to remind you to put your hand at your side. I'm curious, so that I know my room, if y'all can help me, who's Bears fans? Who are Bears fans? If you put your hands in there, you got to be proud after yesterday. Okay, I'll say, most exciting one, second in football, right? It's incredible. I watched the last 3 minutes of the game, and I thought it was just spectacular. My wife grew up in Oak Forest. Her mom still lives there, and so, and she's one of 6, and they're all sprinkled out throughout the Chicago region. And so you might imagine there's a few Bears fans in that family. That's why I asked the question. I grew up in downstate Effingham, Illinois, and I'm just thrilled to be here to work with you all. I've worked for about the last 30 years in economic development in various roles in various sized cities. My hometown is a community of 2,400 people. It's actually not Effingham. I grew up in Effingham, but my hometown is Altamont, Illinois. Little bitty teeny tiny place along I-70 between Effingham and St. Louis. And so I've worked with small communities, small being Tuscola, Illinois, 3,500 people, to large communities, and that includes Indianapolis and Kansas City. My first job in economic development, some of you who've been in government for a while will recognize this name, was with DECA. Today it's DCEO. And so that was my first job in economic development. I later worked at Illinois Power Company in their economic development department, back when we had almost 20 economic developers working out of headquarters in Decatur, pre-Ameren. And after that, that's when I went to community economic development, places like Tuscola, like Jacksonville, Illinois, which was that organization was a 2-county, 10-community regional economic development organization. I was recruited to Indianapolis from there, recruited to Kansas City from there, and in Indianapolis we had a 12-county economic development group, and I was the head of marketing for the 12-county metro for Indianapolis. So this regional thing comes really pretty naturally to me. And so that's part of the reason I'm so excited to be a part of the group that Steve leads, because regionalism is really what's most important in economic development today. If you talk to any site selector, any commercial broker, they're going to tell you, you know, a place like Jacksonville, for instance. They don't have a clue where Jacksonville's at. However, if they're marketing as a part of a broader region, and they're in front of site selectors on a regular basis, the whole idea is raising the awareness of the area by being in front of those folks on a regular basis. The other advantage of regionalism is that you can do things in regionalism that you can't afford to do in your own budget. So for instance, my last economic development position before coming in front of you all was Clinton, Iowa. Clinton, Iowa was we had 3 communities on the Iowa side of the river and 3 communities on the Illinois side of the river. So if you're familiar with Fulton, Illinois, Whiteside County, that was part of my area. And, excuse me, City of Clinton, their budget for us was $80,000 a year. When I left, I had a $777,000 budget. I grew it from $350,000 with additional grant money, with additional private sector investment, that sort of thing. For $80,000, you can just barely pay an economic development director and benefits, much less do marketing. But what the opportunity for Clinton was, now because they're leveraging private sector dollars and because they're leveraging investments from other public entities, they're able to actually be, in my case, in Chicago, in Atlanta, Dallas, New York, and other places, making site selection consultants available about the opportunities of doing business in the Clinton region. Why is this the least cost place for them to be? How do they maximize their business opportunity and minimize their risk by coming to that area? And oh, by the way, those of you who aren't familiar with Clinton, it's on US 30, just across the river in Iowa, right on the Mississippi River. And so that was 2 hours from O'Hare. So when I would talk to the site selectors in Chicago, I would say, you know, guys, I'm just the furthest west Chicago suburb. It just happens that I'm in Iowa. The advantage here is we're half as far away. We're 30 minutes west of Minooka. Minooka is where you see all the distribution centers along I-80. There's absolutely growth coming this direction. I think it's exciting to be a part of it. In addition to the 4 states where I've worked as a CEO or as an economic development leader, I've also consulted in 8 other states. My 2 most recent clients were the city of San Antonio and the state of New Jersey, and just on a whole wide variety of topics. In addition to industrial development, I've served on chamber board of directors. I've been involved in tourism boards. I helped stand up 2 Main Street downtown redevelopment organizations. And so I really am a generalist. I've been practicing for 30 years. That equates to roughly $2 billion in deals, about 15,000 jobs created over the course of my career. And what makes me tick is helping you grow your community and provide jobs and opportunity for our kids, for our neighbors, and for our relatives. At the end of the day, that's what matters. And in doing so, we also build the economic base of the community and tax revenues for the community. And as we build economic base jobs, industrial jobs in particular, those folks have sufficient money to spend with additional commercial businesses in the community. And so we increase tax revenue through sales taxes as well. It might also interest you to know, when I worked at DECA, that was the Thompson administration, the tail end of the Thompson administration. When I came into state government, my time in state government was with Thompson and Edgar administrations in 6 different agencies before I started economic development as a career. So I've got connections in Springfield as well as connections in the site selection community, and I want to use those resources to benefit you all and help you all. grow the region. With that, let me end and answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Must have covered it all.
I talked too long, that's what it is there. It is a thrill for me. I can tell you, years ago when I was in high school, we had a brand new football coach, an assistant football coach. His name was Drew Potoff. And maybe some of you know Drew or know that name. And so my mom said, I was a junior in high school, and my mom said to me, there's a new football coach at high school this year. It was before school started. And I said, oh, really? And she said, yeah, he's from Peru. And I said, Peru? And she said, yeah, I don't know what a South American is doing here, but... So I talked to Coach Potoff, and he said, no, it's at Peru up north. But seriously, one of the things I want you to know is, in addition to the work that I intend to do, meeting with site selection consultants and developing leads for the communities in the region, because of the background that I have, and I just offered this to one of the other communities this morning, I'm happy to provide technical assistance and background. So for instance, you all were talking about challenges with DOT. My wife served 2 tours of duty with DOT. She worked for the ICC. She worked for Department of Revenue, professional regulation. My background is revenue, public aid, central management services, governor's office. And at CMS, one of my roles was with the Joint Purchasing Program, and now I think it's called the Unified Purchasing Program. I ran that program for a period of time at CMS. So, a wide, diverse background in government. Also been a private sector, member of the private sector. I hold a Series 66 and a Series 7 securities license, as well as an Illinois Life and Health Insurance producer license. And I've been involved in that as well, as doing private consulting and being an economic development director, and just kind of jack of all trades, as you might gather. My wife and I met in college at Eastern Illinois University in Charleston, where I was a triple major and she was a double major. We have 2 daughters. Our youngest daughter is a junior at the University of Denver. She's a pre-law major. Our oldest daughter graduated about a year and a half ago from DU, and she's currently in Kansas City with her husband. She was majoring in cognitive neuroscience, and she speaks in words about that long that I don't understand. But she's a medical researcher at the KU Med Center, and so we're real pleased with that. I spent about 6 years in Kansas City, and so that's how she met her husband there. I love your area. It reminds me a great deal of Kansas City in terms of the geography, and just beautiful area. But, after my announcement was in the paper, there was a couple other announcements that came in within a couple of days. One about Del Monte, one about the Hennepin Power Plant, which I believe was a former Illinois power plant. Those are challenges to the area. And so one of the things that I think is really, really important is to work with existing companies. And so that we may not head off a decision like that, but we know about it, we're informed about it, we can react to it, and be better prepared than to be caught kind of flat-footed by the news, perhaps. One of the reasons I was recruited to Kansas City was to stand up a brand new business retention and expansion program there. And so that is an area of expertise for me. I hope to work with our local economic development leaders, both in government and in chambers and other groups, to put together a robust, proactive business retention and expansion program so we can reach out and help companies capitalize on opportunities and resolve issues that they're dealing with. Now, as to those 2 situations, inside each challenge, I firmly believe lies an opportunity. And, there are opportunities here with these 2 announcements. Initially, it often doesn't look like that, but I will tell you, based on experience, there are opportunities here, both in terms of available trained workforce and also in terms of available, ready-to-go buildings with unique characteristics like food-grade facility. These are difficult things to come by in today's market, and so that presents us with an opportunity as opposed to a challenge. I welcome the opportunity to chat with you, any of you individually. Mayor, I look forward to an opportunity to sit and have a cup of coffee with you and talk about your objectives. I'm not going to come in front of you today and tell you this is my vision for the community, because what I want to do is have a series of meetings like I'm describing as listening sessions and learn what your issues are so that I can work with you to craft the appropriate strategy that best meets your needs and your concerns. That's the way I've practiced for 30 years. That's the way I'll practice here. With that, again, I'll conclude. Thank you so much for the time on the agenda, and thank you to City Clerk for reaching out to me for an introduction. Look forward to working with you all.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, now we have a presentation, Perfectly Flawed Foundation, Luke Tomcha.
Hold on, guys. First off, I want to thank the city. I want to thank the EMS, the police. We held a back-to-school bash at Baker Lake. It was our first event doing that this year. We just held that yesterday. And it was from 11 till 3, and we served over, the estimate was 500 youth and 800 in total. So it was a huge success outside of the rain that came, so we were happy to be able to put it off. It's an event that we're really looking forward to moving forward in the future. Now we have a year planned for it, so it went really well, and the park was great. I can't thank you guys enough for allowing us that space. We really appreciate that. But I guess I'm just up here to kind of explain to you who Perfectly Flawed is, and I'll try to keep it short. We do a variety of services, but they're based around addiction. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit community-based organization identifying and addressing the serious and complicated issues associated with substance use and addiction in LaSalle, Bureau, and Putnam County. So what does all that mean? Obviously there's a huge drug issue, with the opioids and people dying, but I think it's a matter of, it exists and it will always exist. And our goal is to provide services to people like police officers and the families, that people have options. They're not just going to jail and doing a prison sentence and then getting out and then having no tools to get back in the community, because what happens with that? We see crime, we see theft, robberies and things like that, and then you see a weakened workforce. So as this gentleman was saying, as far as economic development and tax dollars and things like that, jobs are very important, and if you can't employ people, what are you going to do? You can get all the businesses in the world to come here, but if you can't employ quality workers, because we don't have supportive services for the addiction issues in our area, it's a big deal. We have people are using at a younger age. They're experimenting at a younger age. A majority of adults experiment with drugs and alcohol at some point in their life. We have to accept that as the reality. A drug-free world is not, it's an impossible goal. So we need to make sure we have supportive services. But we have a whole generation growing up when they're turning 18 with no parenting. They're being left into the world, into our communities with no life skills themselves. So, and you're seeing the multi-generational impact of that. So that's what we're here for. We're here to provide those services. I'd be happy to go into detail with anybody. We have office hours. I always say that my hometown was Peru, Illinois. I got my diaper changed in Spring Valley, Illinois more. But I live in LaSalle. So we're a regional organization. We're right in the basement of the LaSalle train station, right on the border of LaSalle and Peru. I take pride in both communities and the region in general. So we're just here to provide services. We have regular office hours Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. On call after hours and weekends. Family support. We focus on improving family support to improve the outcome and to improve the outcome. Youth enrichment scholarships through our Yes for Youth program, where we give youth access to services such as karate, yoga, whatever that youth is that may have been impacted. And we provide these for the parents in recovery as well. This is a tool for them to support their kids while we focus on helping them in other aspects. We have support groups. We focus on positive change. So this is a little different than AA. It's SMART, recovery is what we focus, is what it's called. And it's more about empowerment and giving people tools. This coming October 17th, our support group is going to be doing a holiday budget session. You'd be surprised how, if people really see, put a little structure in their lives, how it can really help. And I know this from experience, because I still have mountains of debt from, I was a heroin user for 14 years. I hid it in plain sight around here. I was a tech director at the local grade school in Spring Valley and a variety of other jobs, but anyways. So we offer one-on-one peer support navigation. If someone comes to us for help, we'll do whatever we have to get them help. That doesn't always mean treatment. It could mean improvement. Finding, why are you, we don't require people to hit rock bottom before they come to see us. What we'd like to do is really pick them up. So it's like I said, you have 1 in 3 adults that have tried an illicit substance. Most of them grow out of that and go on with their lives and start families. There's other people that go this way and they start coming down here. We don't require them to hit rock bottom and then say, boom, you have a disease. And you have to be perfect the rest of your life. What we do is we focus on improvement and finding out why the person is having those challenges, and we try to focus on improvement. Just from my experience, drastic change is unrealistic for a variety of individuals. So these are just some of the services we offer. We do overdose prevention, naloxone, stuff like that. Since 2017, when we were founded, we've had over 250 individuals and families that have reached out for help. We average 6 Yes for You scholarships per month, trained over 150 individuals in naloxone overdose prevention. 871,000 people reached through our social media campaign to destigmatize and educate. We recently worked with Senator Resin on the passing of Senate Bill 1828, the Overdose Prevention and Harm Reduction Act. We've educated over 2,500 individuals through 30 community education events and forums, and our Back to School Bash, which was this weekend. So, if you guys ever have any questions, if you guys know anybody that's impacted by addiction, just give me a call. I know Mary Jane Marini over here, she has some bags for every one of the aldermen. We have plenty of resources at the office with this information in there, so you'll see some of our flyers in there. It tells a little bit of what we do. I appreciate it. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but if not, offline.
Is your brother going to talk now?
We've been trying to mute him for years.
Okay, asking for a motion to receive the minutes and place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Do I have a motion to receive the financial reports and place on file?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Okay. Committee reports, Finance Safety Services, Chairman Radke.
Your Honor, I have the disbursements to be paid September 18, 2019, in the amount of $2,268,898.15. I'd like to make a motion to accept as written and read and pay the bills in mutual manner.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? A roll call, clerk call roll, please.
Alderman Ferrari?
Aye.
Waldorf? Aye. Prokosius?
Aye.
Radke?
Aye.
Sapienza?
Aye.
Ballard?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Motion approved.
Your Honor, we have no other report at this time unless Chief Burnaby, Chief King has something.
Okay, Public Services, Chairman Waldorf.
Yes, Your Honor, I'll turn it over to Alderman Ballard, please.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to execute an engineering service agreement with Chamlin and Associates for the extension of 26th Street west from North Peoria Street.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, we had talked in committee of a whole about a not-to-exceed number.
Yes, in committee of a whole, we did a quick review of the service agreements and the fact that obviously we have a lot of projects that are in a very tight area along North Peoria with North Peoria reconstruction. We've got the potential for the deep sewer project, the proposed police station, and then some commitments that have been made by the city with development agreements as they relate to Midtown Road and some of the internal roadway networks that we're going to need there as well. So we've got a half a dozen or so projects that are all dependent upon one another. We'll have various different contractors and consultants involved in those. So it's important that we get these agreements moving forward for the planning aspect of getting those projects to marry nicely. So we've got quite a few balls in the air right now, as Alderman Radke had asked in the previous meeting as far as scheduling goes. We certainly are conscious to that schedule, keeping a close eye on where we're at and when we're going to let contracts and how those contracts are going to be dependent on one another. So each of these tonight are primarily just for the roadway contracts that are internal between North Peoria and Plank Road and south of Midtown, including Midtown, and then there'll be some work that's done to Plank Road as well. In addition to that, we spoke briefly about the police station potential development there and how we would access that with construction traffic, and these projects are dependent upon those such that we may phase the project. We may build only the base course of the roadways for a period of time, then come back and complete them after all the construction activity is moved out of the area. So it's going to be a busy area over the course of the next 2 to 3 construction seasons. So like I said, each of these kind of go hand in hand, so that's an update for both the 26th and the Midtown.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll have a roll call. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf. Aye. Prokosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza.
Aye.
Ballard.
Aye.
Buffalo.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to execute an engineering service agreement with Chamlin and Associates for the extension of Midtown Road west from North Peoria Street.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call. Clerk call the roll.
Alderman Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf. Aye. Prokosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza. Ballard.
Aye.
Buffalo.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Chief King, do you have anything for us? Chief Burnaby? No. That is all from Public Services, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to reports, city attorney, ordinance, resolutions.
Yes, Your Honor. First, I have minutes of public hearing on proposed text amendment to the City of Peru zoning ordinance pertaining to adult use cannabis zoning regulations.
Have a motion to receive the minutes, place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Going along with it, I have an ordinance amending the City of Peru zoning ordinance pertaining to adult use cannabis.
Do I have a motion to approve the ordinance as written and read?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think it's worth going through what's in the ordinance. I know it's pretty lengthy and it's very highly regulated, probably the most highly regulated thing that's in our zoning ordinance, but maybe you could hit on a high point.
Well, state regulations are certainly very highly regulated, but basically what it boils down to is that there's 6 different types of cannabis establishments, and we're allowing those establishments in B4, and then craft growers and cultivation centers, and consistent with our code that we passed back in 2014, we passed an ordinance allowing for medical grow facilities in M2, so we're allowing craft growers and cultivation centers also in M2.
Go through the, do you have it for the distance in between from schools, from how it reads on the distances between?
Yeah, so all 6 types of cannabis business establishments There's minimum distance regulations from certain sensitive areas, including pre-existing public or private nursery schools, preschools, primary, secondary schools, daycare centers, daycare home, or residential care home. So that's for all 6 of them. And then also there's some regulations from residential areas themselves. Some of them are 1,500 feet, others are 250 feet, but none are allowed in residential areas.
So realistically, it's allowed in a B4. I think there might be some B4 zoning on the west end of Peru, but it wouldn't probably meet these.
Realistically, you're looking at north of Wenzel Road, by the car dealerships and towards the highway.
Or like Alderman Radke just said, out on the west end, that was just annexed in, there'd be a couple spots out there. But when the growing facilities, when that started, we had many people in here that wanted to use Peru as their site, which they did. None of them that used Peru as their site did receive the growing permit. And then when the medical cannabis came in, we had numerous people in here, and none of them received the permit to do it. We haven't had, to my knowledge, we haven't had anybody in here on this one. So I don't know why. That's fine with me, but we're passing this because, well, we're going to vote on this because we need to, what the state said, but well, also what we did was we put the maximum tax on it, which is 3%, which everybody's doing, so.
I think the other thing I didn't hear is it would be allowed as a special use. It's not allowed. So it would be allowed,
Right.
subject to a hearing and subject to further approval from the city council.
All types are special use, which gives the city quite a bit of leverage to make sure that the property is suitable for what they want to do and confines to our zoning ordinance.
There'll probably be a couple sessions in Chicago this weekend on it, I'm guessing, with the IML. I haven't looked at their... So anyway, we have a motion, we have a second. If there's no further question, we'll have a roll call. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Prokosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza. Ballard. Buffalo.
Motion approved.
Next, I have minutes of public hearing on petition of James S. Happ and Susan J. Happ concerning property located at 902 14th Street, Peru.
Got a motion to receive the minutes, place on file.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Then I have an ordinance granting variances under the zoning ordinance of the city of Peru as sought by petition of James S. Happ and Susan J. Happ concerning property located at 902 14th Street, Peru.
Got a
I'll make that
motion. Okay, so we have a motion to receive the ordinance as written and read. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Have a roll call. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf. Prokosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza. Ballard.
Aye.
Buffalo.
Motion approved.
That's all tonight.
That's nothing further. Okay, proclamations, none?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I want to go into a couple of things under new business. I know I mentioned it at the Public Service Committee meeting last Monday and the Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday, that one thought that I have, I know when the calls come into the wards, to the ward aldermen, and calls come in for sidewalks, calls come in for alleys, calls come in from various things, and then you need to come into City Hall and see what we have available as far as funds are going. So what I'm proposing is to take $1 million out of our reserve fund and putting it into a 10-year program and giving every ward $25,000 of discretionary money for that year, for that budget cycle, which is May 1 to April 30. So when the calls come in about sidewalks, which I know you have numerous calls on sidewalk, when the calls come in about alleys, in some portions of town, there's many calls on alleys. So it would be a discretionary fund. It would be a 10-year program, $25,000 a year per ward, $100,000, $1 million. And, you know, for instance, I asked Eric today, you can do a sidewalk for roughly, you know, these are numbers that change, but you can do a sidewalk today for roughly $12 a square foot. So just to make numbers easy, you know, a 3-foot sidewalk, 60 foot out in front of a house, to make numbers easy, rounding number, $4,000. So you would have most frontage in town 60 foot. So you would have, you know, be able to do that. If you did the whole 300 foot, you would be what? Somebody do the math. 12,000. Yeah, didn't mean to put you on the spot. Anyway, you would have that. An alley, if you went in and we haven't done it, I don't know if you would do it, it would be your call. That's what I'm trying to present. It would be your call. If we did pave an alley, you're looking at, depending on the alley, because there's some issues out there, you know, that'll have to be taken care of. But as far as paving an alley, you're around $10,000. So it just gives you some insight on what you would have. Naturally, it would need to come in here. Everybody would have to vote on it, depending on what level it is, and what level, after we do the new purchasing policy, if it'll be a committee or a full council decision. But I just think it would be much easier, because one thing you see happening is we're investing so much money in the town everywhere. Where it's not being invested, those residents are wanting to know why, because they're seeing so much done. So this would help. I think it would be very good for the ward alderman. Then you would have that. You know, you have your budgeted number and move on from there. And the money's tight enough that we've been saving money for 10 years, and I don't see any issue with taking $1 million out of reserve for the 10-year program. But what does anybody think? I mean, are you in favor? You want me to quit talking about it, or do you want to move forward and draw up paperwork and do it, or what would you want to do?
Definitely in favor of it. 25,000 isn't very much, so.
Well, like I just said, you could do the whole block. You know, a normal block in town's 300 feet. So you could do the whole block of sidewalk for, what did we say? $12,000. You know, but you'd have that discretion. There's many blocks out there that there's sidewalks that are very bad in front of a house, and then there's sidewalks that are very good. So maybe you would do 60 feet, maybe you'd do 120 feet. But I see no reason not to do this and give you the, you know, you know, going to the resident's house, you know what their issue is, you know what you're going to be asked next, and you would also know what you have in your budget. But once again, it all needs to be approved by full council or a committee level.
If you did a full block, you'd have $5,000 left. That's it. Now you're
Well,
25. So it's not really
that's one of the reasons I'm doing it is the job that Eric and his department are doing, it's not easy. So when these calls come in, and, you know, if you try and drop everything you're doing and move to somewhere else, it's just not easy, because you're planning 5 years ahead. So it's just not easy to do that. So that's why I'm looking at extra dollars, completely separate from what we're doing here, in extra dollars. And
I think something else that would help, if we knew a little bit, had in our hands, I should say, like a 5-year plan. I know Eric's working on that kind of thing. But if we had a 5-year plan where we could see that this street is getting torn up, so let's don't put that on our particular radar for our $25,000.
Like
I
you just brought up
really
a
appreciate
good
that,
point
yeah.
that I was going to add to the mayor's comment. I think what Mayor is proposing here is more of a supplemental program than anything. We still have our general fund maintenance program that we do every year, and by award, over the past few years, we've averaged anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 in an award. And that's not just the resurfacing of roadways, that includes curb work, concrete apron work, sidewalk removal and replacements, improvements to ADA ramps, things of that nature. So there is quite a bit of work still going on in the wards. This is for those smaller type projects that come up, maintenance issues that I've been approached with, obviously, in the past. But certainly, as you guys know, we're finishing our first 3-year maintenance program on the roadways. We're this winter developing the next 3-year program, which will outline those roadways over the course of the next 3 budget cycles. And everybody will get a copy of that, as we did the first time. So.
Right, and because some of those include sidewalks.
Mhm.
And when it includes sidewalks, I think most of us up here, we don't want to waste our $25,000 on a sidewalk that's going to be done in 3 years.
That's right. So, and you have to keep in mind, there's a lot, you know, we'll eventually get to a point where we have a capital improvement plan on a map that looks nice for everybody that we can put on the website, but obviously that takes time, and we've got a lot of moving targets right now with some EPA mandates with sewer separation and how we attack that sewer separation, and that affects areas of town with removal and replacement of sidewalks and curbs and things of that nature. So I realize that all of us receive complaints from time to time from various areas throughout the city, but there is a master plan to all of it that, we're not neglecting certain areas that look worse than others. It's just that we know that there's a program coming within the near future that's going to address those needs. So we don't want to spend the money and then come back a few years later and spend the money again.
With the projects that we have going and what's in the works, depending on what section of town you're in 10 years' time, you're going to be able to wrap up quite a bit of the projects that are out there.
I think we went from my first year with the city 5 years ago, capital improvements of somewhere around $1 million to $2 million, and I think right now, over the course of the last 3 years, we've been $8 to $10 million a year. So, I mean, we're exponentially more in a short period of time, and what we're investing in the infrastructure. And a lot of that is contributed to, a number of different things. We've attacked certain funding resources in grants. We've been able to get money through development agreements, and then, obviously, as you guys know, the city of Peru, the sales tax is huge. So that's continued to grow year after year. All of those have been supplemental resources to, adding these programs as we go. So it's been really good for us. To the mayor's point, in 5 more years, it's going to look really different.
And that's to the credit of the city of Peru and a lot of people that are working here that we're able to do that, to expand that much in this short period of, 8 or 10 years, to be able to do as much as we're doing.
But as I said, with the amount we are doing, everybody wants it, right in front of their house or right in back of their house. And everybody understands that. It's just, you're planning ahead, and the money, the 7th Street project should start next year, right? And that'll be sidewalks, curb gutter, underground utilities, and new road surface.
Yeah, and we're well aware, that area of town, Ward 1, north of Route 6, north of West Clocks, in and around the high school and coming back towards 51. There's some rough areas over there that need attention. But as the mayor said, next year we start phase 1 of a water main project that basically reconstructs 8 to 10 blocks, city blocks, curb to curb. Shortly thereafter, we come back with a phase 2 project that'll continue that work going towards 251. And we're 2 years from starting our IEPA sewer mandate on that side of town, where we come all the way down 6th Street. Starting at the ravine on the far east end of town, and we'll be spending about the next 10 years over there with sewer separation, which is total reconstruction. So, Mayor's point, the east end of town, which is, I don't want to say it's been neglected, but we purposefully haven't spent a lot of funds on that end of town because we know we're setting up to spend a whole lot of money over there over the course of the next 10 years.
Plus, a call came in this summer down on Main Street, around 2,500 blocks, something like that. And that was on the plan for, I believe, next year for some general fund work. So went ahead and put in some curb, put in some sidewalk down on, I believe it's Main. Was that Main?
It was Main.
Yeah, 2,500 block around Calhoun. You jumped ahead. It wasn't quite in the right, but it was on the list. And that's what you have to find out too. So that wouldn't come out of your discretionary fund. We wouldn't do, we're not going to do curbs. I don't think. It would be basically, flat work.
And Mayor's, like you said, this is more of a supplemental maintenance program for those sidewalk projects and alleyway projects that come up that really, right now, our focus isn't on these small little stretches that are located all over the city or even on the alleyways, because we've got such demand on the traveled ways, on the roadways. So we've really got to continue to concentrate our efforts there until we get to a point that we're caught up, and we still got a little ways to go.
So what's anybody think?
So right now, you're thinking strictly sidewalks and alleys? for the money? Would there be any other restrictions on it?
But like I said, you're not gonna wanna do curbs, you know, if somebody
No,
said they want a
understand
curb,
that,
because
but
that would be in the road for, whatever you would wanna do, basically. I'm using sidewalks in alleys because the
Majority of the complaints
the
are...
calls coming in lately have been sidewalks in alleys.
I agree.
You know, and I'm telling you, lately, alleys seems like they picked up this year, the calls coming in on alleys and sidewalks, that's a never ending, you know, until they're repaired. And we do have the program, which we can change the program, that will remove your debris. If you're a homeowner and you're gonna do it yourself, we'll remove your debris and we'll pay for half the material. We can change that and pay for all of the material, but personally, I think this would be a better way to go for the council.
I feel that we will always run into things that don't fit the slot that we made for sidewalks and alleys. And to stay strictly with sidewalks and alleys, I think that'd be a mistake, because we're gonna...
Well, it won't say that. It's a discretionary, you know, you're not gonna spend it on something silly. That's not gonna happen, because the whole council's gonna have to vote on it.
Exactly, so I think it's an excellent idea, that everybody has a shot at it, and $25,000 is still gonna fix a lot of sidewalks.
Well, like I said, you do 300 feet, 12,000, at the numbers that I have today, roughly $12 a square foot, just saying a sidewalk's 3 foot wide. I don't know what the regulations are for sidewalk, maybe it's 39, but just, I rounded up numbers at the end, so, you know, you can do in front of a person's house, and they're coming in all the time. But it's not gonna be easy for you either, because the more you do, the more people are gonna want, so you're gonna have to wait until the next budget cycle. Is anybody in disagreement of it?
No, I think it's a good program. I think is this something we can implement in the next budget cycle, like in May 1, for next one? This construction season's already over, right?
That's up, if the council wants to do it, we'll let finance know, and then we'll let finance let us know. So what I would like to see is, yes, you have your discretionary fund on May 1 of 2020. So, you know.
Because the only thing I'm a little concerned about is that you're taking reserves. I think there may be a way to do this without doing that. I'd like to have the finance committee review that.
I don't agree with that, but we'll see.
Well, let us try it.
Because, you know, in the last finance meeting, we did talk about drawing down on a reserve policy. So with the amount of work we're doing and the amount of money we're investing, I'm asking for a new investment. I'm not gonna look over there because I know what he's doing. He's having a coronary, but anyway, with the amount of money we're investing in the projects that we have in the works, it's close, so that's why when you come in here, say, it's spoken for. So now it's spoken for in a different spot. In a 10-year program, $1 million, one month, instead of doing $400,000 per, we're doing $400,000 on a ladder that finance has set up. 1 month it'll be $350. You know, 10 years. He'll figure it out. I have all the confidence in the world. If the council says okay, he'll figure it out. Right, Justin? Okay, going along with finances, I've asked, our electric department keeps on letting us know that we have potential that we need to address on our Water Street substation. It's old, very old. I don't remember, 50 years old, something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But what happens is transformers, as they are jolted, as time goes on, they build up gases, and it's building up gases. It's nowhere close to being, you know, an issue right now. But I've asked BHM&G to come up here at our next meeting on the 30th and give us a presentation on what because I don't know about transformers. They're our electrical engineering service, and we need to listen to what they have to say, and then the possibility would be to hire BHM&G or somebody like them to do a study for us, so we know. The last thing you do want, the most what you don't want is to have something happen that there wasn't planned. So as a preventative maintenance, the preventative maintenance down there now would be more than likely what we're gonna hear from my talks with them on Thursday is, more than likely what you're gonna hear is you're gonna need to put in a new substation, so.
It will cost us a lot less to do that in a planned manner than
Well-
we have to do it on the equipment schedule, or we can do it on our schedule. Our schedule's gonna be a lot cheaper than doing it on the equipment schedule.
And that was brought up when I talked with them on Thursday. The last thing you want to happen is for it to go from a planned preventative maintenance, even if it is a brand-new substation, to go into an emergency. Because as emergency knows, you work at a plant, Alderman Radke, that you had an emergency, what is that, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now? And it's much more costly. So, I've asked them to come in on the 30th, and Rebel Blakely and Jason, and I don't know Jason's last name, Jason, I just know him by Jason, they're going to come up and give us a brief overview of what they know with their professional services, and let us know what the next step, what they recommend for us to do. And I believe it's pretty important. I know our electric general foreman, Kai's, he's been telling us for quite some time, and we need to really listen to it.
I know there's a lot of infrastructure down there, but would we put it in the same spot?
And we talked about that. The issue may be railroad, on where they would let us go, because they've expanded their right-of-ways, and I don't know. The perfect thing would be to put a brand-new one up next to it to the east, and then you would make all your transfer, flip one switch and flip the other switch, and you have your transfer
For
made.
simplicity, but
Right.
that location down there is just problematic.
Exactly. So, there's a lot that would go into that, with your core sampling, with your permission from railroad, and a lot that go into it. To be as close to where it's at as possible would be the best scenario, I think. I mean, that just makes sense to me.
Cost-wise, no doubt, but
Right.
The problem you're into a lot of switchgear is I'm sure that it doesn't meet any type of modern-day standards for arc
No.
flash, any type of modern redundancy. So you've got a lot of issues down there, I'm sure.
Well, they've been doing quite a bit, but you keep on upgrading one portion here, one portion here. You need a total, we have three substations in town. You don't want to lose one for a lengthy period of time, so. Oh, yeah.
hydro plant, you come right there.
It's a big undertaking, that's why, we don't know, but that's why I've asked the professionals that they do know, and then see what they're asking for their next step. Then, it was probably a month, 6 weeks ago, we asked for RFPs for a pool to do a study, and a feasibility study, and we received 2 back, one from Westport Pools, Maryland Heights, Missouri, and one from Councilman Hunsaker Pools from St. Louis. And we gave the proposals to a few members on the council, and then a member from audience, and they've given back to Eric what they feel is the best proposal, should we decide to move ahead on this. What we would do then is Eric would negotiate with whoever it is they've chosen, and see what the cost would be for their study, for a feasibility study. And once again, nobody knows what they're gonna say about that. You have a pool 3 miles away, 5 miles away, 4 miles away. I don't know what the feasibility study is. But I would like to see this, I would like to see the council say okay to let Eric start talking to him, and then bring back some numbers on what the study would cost. And you can do a straw poll right now, because we're not taking any action, we're not taking a vote, we're not spending any money, but is everybody okay with, all right, Eric, you can go ahead, and then the next will be, he'll have numbers and, proposal, so.
Yeah, we'll ratify the selection and then the negotiation at the next regular scheduled meeting. And talking to the committee members and then our internal review, we are all in agreement as to who that consultant will be. And I think, short of notifying them and talking through some of those early stages, we really don't want to give the selection right now, but we will at the 30th meeting. Want to make sure that that's a partner that we can construct an agreement with.
Okay. I'm done with unfinished business. Does anybody else have something? New business? Okay, we're asking for a motion for the approval of selected candidate for the position of Public Services Office Assistant. I don't know who that is. I know HR was unable to attend tonight. What's that?
I have to go through a little bit of it. We interviewed, there were 4 different candidates we interviewed. All of them are really good. It was hard to really make a trace out of some of them, but this person that we'd like to hire, she stood out above the other ones. She has a lot of the background that we need for what we're looking at up in electrical and up in public works. So we recommend this candidate to fill the position that was left.
Then this person will go where?
She'll have to electric. She'll be an electric, but she'll split her time with electric and public works both. She'll be mainly stationed out of electric and then working back and forth with us in public works, doing scheduling, just different tasks, payroll.
So, you don't have it written as a motion here. Yeah. So, okay, so I'll ask for a motion on the approval of selected candidate for the position of Public Service Office Assistant.
With the creation of this position, are we gonna rotate some people down? Is somebody coming back down here?
Yeah, I can add to that. There was a vacancy in my office, left by a departure a few weeks back. Everybody remembers Sarah had moved, she relocated, so in talking with Jeff, we feel that it was best that we move Ann back to this building, to that front desk position. She had been at that position previously. We utilized her to fill a vacancy at the electric department due to her retirement. But we feel it would be best to get her back here and bring this new person up to speed at the electric and public works departments. And if I can add, as everybody knows, we have selected candidate on there because we don't share the individual's identity right now, give them the ability to inform their employer. So.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion on that or questions? Have a roll call, quick call roll.
Alderman Ferrari. Aye. Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Sapienza. Ballard.
Aye.
Buffalo.
Motion approved. Petitions, communications?
Yes, Your Honor. First is a communication from LP High School requesting permission to hold their annual homecoming parade on Thursday, September 26th.
Have a motion to receive the communication, place on file, and grant permission. I know it's already on the book, so
So moved.
I don't need to go with
I'll
that.
make that a motion, Your Honor, plus they're gonna use some dump trucks.
Do I have a second?
Alderman Ferrari, Your Honor.
Who gave a second?
Alderman Buffalo first and Alderman Ferrari.
Okay. Pardon me, Alderman Buffalo, I didn't hear you. Talk too quiet. What? Okay, if there are no further questions, let's see, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Okay,
Next, I got a communication from St. Bede, and they're inviting the city to participate in the annual homecoming parade on, theirs on September 19th, this Thursday. Just asking if we wanted to put a vehicle or two or any other units in the parade.
okay, we have a motion to receive communication, place on file, and I don't think we have an answer, right? If we're going to
We
participate
usually
in that.
put a fire truck in that St. Bede one,
Oh, yeah, we have people on that.
police and
Okay.
fire. They weren't really talking about anything other than a police and fire.
Okay, who's the motion from?
We didn't have one yet. No
Okay,
motion.
who's going to be the motion from? Alderman Ferrari?
Well, they had talked about dusting off the city.
Alderman Sapienza? All in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, motion carried.
And then last, we have a communication from Kelly Williams, the IVCH Director of Rehabilitation Services. This is for their annual Fall Fitness 5K on October 12th.
Have a motion to receive the communication, place on file. And since we haven't had any runs through town for a while, to remind them that not to paint the streets.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
So moved.
Who so moved? Alderman Radke? All in favor, signify by aye. All opposed, motion carried. Have any public comment? Anybody with any public comment? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Anybody want to go into closed session for an hour or so? Okay. Anybody want a motion to adjourn? I do. Meeting adjourned.